This week's challenge involves working with a for each loop. Let's start off by creating a basic for each loop using a list of string. And then we'll move on to tackling the bonus challenge where we'll create a class and create class instances. Okay, let's go File, New Project. We'll create a console app and we'll create a .NET framework. We could create a .NET Core. It doesn't really matter for this particular practice, but let's just stick with the full .NET framework. Call it console UI, and this is the for each challenge. Okay, first thing we do with the console application is console.readline at the end. And now part of the challenge says we need a list of strings. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm actually going to create a separate method. You don't have to. Again, when we're creating a sample application, it's just get the code in there to get to the point of testing what you're trying to learn. You're not trying to create this awesome application. But in this case, I'm going to create a separate private static. We'll return a list of string, just to make life a little easier for us. And we'll call this get people. Get people strings. How about that? And here what we're going to do is we'll have a list of string that's called output, and we'll initialize that. There we go. And in between here, we'll just say output.add, and we'll start adding people. And we'll just basically copy and paste this and then just change the names. All right, so there's a list of people. Oh, we have two Marys here, so let's just get rid of one with that. It's easier than trying to create another name. And now what we want to do is we just want to say list of string people equals, and then call this method get people strings, and that will populate our list of strings. So all this method does is just create a sample list for us. We could replace this then with a call to a database or call to a text file, but again, this is just a sample application. So here's where we actually start testing the for each. So for each, we just type out for each and tab twice, or get to the for, and that should be enough for the snippet. We tab twice, and this creates our for each snippet. I'm going to change the var to a string. It's up to you if you want to or not. I tend to go back and forth on this. I personally think that it's easier for a newer developer to read that it is a string versus a var, but again, var is easy. Next, we'll name this item person, and the in is going to be people. That's the list we're going to loop through in the for each. Okay, so string person in people, and now I can do our console write line and say, let's say hello person. We'll use a $sign syntax so we can insert that variable directly into our string. All right, so we'll hit start here. And here is our list of people. So hello John, hello Mary, all the way down through Bill. So our for each worked the way we expected it to. We create a for each and we wrote out the hello to that person. So that's the basics of this. And it may sound really simple, and it really is. Hopefully it is. But that's what you need to do every time you learn something. Create the simple version of it. Just a for each where you loop through a list of something simple, or whatever you're learning, do that. Now, let's take it to the next level and make it a little more complicated. It's not really a big difference in for each, but I want to just kind of show off we can do it. So we're going to do the bonus version. So let's create a new class. And we'll call this class the person model. And make it public. And inside here, we will add a first name and a last name. Okay, really simple class. Just hold the first name and last name. And then down here below our console read line, we're just going to put another console.readline. That way we can see the first version of it, and we'll see the second version of it. So let's create another method down here. So private static list of person model. And we'll call this get people models. Okay, so it's similar to get people strings, but this one returns models instead. So we'll say list of person model. We'll call it output equals new list of person model. We'll return output at the end, but first let's go ahead and populate a few people in this list. So do output.add new person model. If you don't know how to do this, essentially I'm just declaring a new instance inline. That way it makes it a little easier for me to create this list. And we'll say Tim and last name equals Corey. That's the first one. We'll do some copy paste here. And we'll do Bill, Mary, and let's go with Sue. And we'll just start giving different names here. Smith, Jones, and McCoy. Okay, so there we have our list of people. And then up here, we're going to get our list of person model. And we'll call it people models. Instead of equals new, whoops, we're going to do get people models. And now we'll do a for each again. This time we're going to say person model. And we'll say person again in people. Whoops, people models. That's better. So if you notice here, I called this person even though we have person up here. And this is one of those things that doing this will kind of test out is kind of the limits of for each. And there's not a whole lot of limits. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing. It doesn't do a whole lot except just loop through. But one of the things it points out is that this scope of this instance of this variable lives only inside these curly braces. Therefore, in a different for each, I can use that same variable name. However, if I had declared it up here outside the scope of a for each, that'd be a problem because then this one would step on that one's toes. So knowing the scope of your variables kind of helps. But what it does point out is that this scope lasts just this long. So let's do a console write line. We'll do the same $ syntax and say hello. And we'll say person.firstName space person.lastName. Okay, so now we're going to say hello, the first name and the last name. And again, we're using the syntax so we can replace these chunks right here with the actual C# variable, or in this case, a property. So let's run this again. And it starts off with just our list of people from the first go round. But now if we hit enter, there's our list of people with the first and last name. So now you've done the bonus work as well of getting that for each to work with a model instead of just a list of string. So that's all there is to practicing. It's just a matter of making sure that you put into code what you're learning. That way you get familiar with typing it out, you get familiar with the syntax of how to design it or how to lay it out, and then you get familiar with what it can and cannot do. So you see things like the fact that you can reuse person because of the scoping solution here. So it scopes to just these curly braces or just these. So That practice right there, if you do it a couple times, will give you a better handle on for each than just watching it. Because just watching it, you say, yep, I got it. But then you go and do it, you're like, oh yeah, wait, what was that again? Having done it a few times, that really kind of solidifies it in your brain. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to come back next week to get your next challenge.